Hello and welcome to Concur Onboarding. My name is Chris Bunce. I work on the finance team. If you have any questions about anything in this video, please reach out to finance@kcura.com. Let's get started. So Concur is our expense reporting software. So if you ever incur an expense on behalf of Kcura and need to be reimbursed, this is how you'll do that. It's the software here, Concur. To access this, you would enter your credentials into Okta and you'll look for the Concur app. You click on this, and the first time it should log you in. I highly recommend you change your password after that, but you should have a login already. Okay, so when you click on Concur, it looks like this. Mine looks a little bit different because I have admin privileges, but yours is pretty similar. One other thing I want to point out is this Einstein page. If you come into Einstein, come up here in the search bar and type in Concur or Travel, you should be able to navigate to this page. And in here, there's several sub-pages, including benefits of Concur, some frequently asked questions, getting started, mobile users, you can click on here. If you're a manager and you need to approve expense reports, you can find that process here. And if there's any announcements like Concur isn't working correctly, those would be posted on here. You can also subscribe to this page by clicking on here. The main thing I wanted to point out here is this getting started page. If you were to click on this, it says use this to get going. Here's the Concur user guide. It's a page-by-page guide of basically everything I'm going through. It's a PDF. You can click on it and it's step-by-step how to get through Concur. What I'm going to be showing you is just a mock expense report, how you would get it started, how you submit it, and so on. So let's get started. In here, the first thing you're going to want to click on is start a report. There's another way to get to this. If you were on this expense tab up here, you would click on this giant button that says create new report. It'll get to the same screen. Throughout Concur, you'll see several fields. Many have this red vertical line. That's a required field. You'll need to enter in something into the field. So here we have report name. You can name your report whatever you choose. I don't recommend using the same name because if you want to go back and look at past reports, it'll all look the same and you'll be confused. So let's say you took a trip to Chicago and you wanted to name it Trip to Chicago. You could put the date on there. Today is June 30th, so I'm just going to put June 30th, 2016. Okay. These do not have red lines above them or on them, so they are not required fields, so I'm not going to enter anything. Click Next. Here we have all the different expense types you can choose from. There's frequently used ones, lunch, employee training. These are ones I've personally used. Every other one is available down here. So let's say you were in Chicago and you took a taxi. You would click on taxi and this will start that individual expense. So here's the expense type. It automatically populated taxi. If you're like, oh no, it wasn't a taxi, it was something else, you can click and you can change it. Let's say it was Subway or something. You enter the transaction date, so whatever date you purchased the Subway ticket, let's say it was on June 28th. Business purpose, why did you take that? To get to Kcura, let's say. Just something brief, something that gets us understanding what that is. Next field is vendor description. This is who the subway company would be. So CTA is the Chicago Transit Authority. City, you would enter whatever city it's in. So this case it would be Chicago. Payment type, you would enter cash. It defaults to cash. You want to leave it as cash. The only other option is company paid. Do not pick this. Basically, when you select company paid, that says, hey, please do not reimburse me. The company had already paid for this. So leave it as cash. The amount, whatever the amount is on your receipt, so let's say it's $2.50, you would enter $2.50. In Chicago, it should be US dollars, so leave that. Department, this should auto-populate to your department. If it does not auto-populate to your department, please contact finance@kcura.com and we will correct it for you. Is billable. This field is only used when we're doing custom work for a client and we have to travel to their site, and we're actually going to charge them back for those expenses. Marking this as billable will let us know that we're going to bill the client for that. So most likely you're not going to use that. Class, you'll notice right away, is not a required field. If you click on it, a bunch of different things pop up. Um, Two things I want to point out here are the training department mandated and training personal development. If you're using your personal training stipend for a training expense, you want to use this personal development one. If it's your manager says, hey, you have to go to this training for this new software, you would use training department mandated, and that would let us know how to classify this expense. This comment field, I don't believe there's a character limit on here, so you can feel free to type as much as you want. If you have some kind of a weird expense that you're asking to be reimbursed for, here's where you're going to want to explain that. Reason being is once you submit your expense report, your manager is going to see it and approve it, and depending on how much you're asking to be reimbursed for, it may go on to their manager as well. And then once they've approved it, it's going to come into finance for finance to review. And then ultimately, our chief accounting officer will approve it. So there's going to be a lot of people who are looking at this report. So if there's something that's a little unusual, you're going to want to explain that. And this is the best place to do that. Lastly, is personal expense do not reimburse. Do not click that. Um, you're not going to need it. All right. So down here we have save to save this. Attach receipt. So if you were to click attach receipt, you can browse and you can find it off your desktop or whatever, and you would attach it and you would hit save. We highly recommend you use the mobile app, available for iOS, Android, Windows Phone, and BlackBerry. It's a lot more intuitive than using it on the desktop version, and there are instructions for the mobile version back in Einstein on the main Concur page right here. Okay, so receipts are only required for expenses that are larger than $15 or $25, excuse me. Um, this is not over $25, so we can just go ahead and click save, and this will be good to go. All right, well, let's say you're returning to Poland and you had a lunch or something that you were going to expense at the airport. All right, so I entered lunch, the date, let's say it is June 28th. The purpose, I'm just going to put lunch at airport. Vendor description, let's say you ate at McDonald's, so I'm just going to enter McDonald's. Okay, so you'll select the city, and here is Krakow. What that's going to do automatically is it's going to change this rate to zloty for PLN. So when you enter in the amount here, let's say it was 50 PLN, it's going to show that you would be reimbursed $12.40 US dollars. The way Poland employees are set up is the opposite of Chicago employees, where your default currency is going to be zloty, and anything that you enter in zloty, so if it was 50 PLN, it would equate to 50 PLN reimbursed. You are reimbursed in PLN, not US dollars. Okay, so again, this is the same thing. Your department should be the same. Class, you can use that or not. Same with these. And lastly, this new field appeared because this is a meal. It's asking for attendees. So right now it shows Christopher Bunce spent $50 or 50 PLN on lunch. Okay, that sounds reasonable. Well, let's say it was 500 PLN. That's over our per diem. So when I look at this, I'm going to say, whoa, what's going on? Why did Chris spend this much? What you can do is you can add in other employees. Let's say you were eating with somebody else. So I add in Julie here, and it shows that we each spent 250. That's what you'll want to do in that case. This one will require a receipt. So if I hit save here, it's showing over here on the left that the receipt image is required. So you'll want to do is you can go back in here. and you can click attach receipt and you'll be able to do that. If for some reason you lost your receipt and you don't have that McDonald's receipt anymore, you can click on this receipts drop down and select missing receipt affidavit. When you do that, it says which one would you like to choose. And yes, I'd like to choose this one. And it'll say I can confirm that the expense detailed above was incurred on behalf of Concur and is not a personal expense. If I click accept and create, what it's going to do is create a missing receipt affidavit that basically says, I confirm this really happened, please reimburse me. And now you have a receipt, so it doesn't say receipt required anymore. And if you wanted to, you would click on submit report. I'm not going to submit this right now just because this is a test. That's about all. How long does it take to get reimbursed? Poland employees are reimbursed a little bit differently than US employees. It's not as automated yet. There should be a Concur update coming out either later this year or sometime next year that allow us to reimburse in Poland employees the same as US employees. But right now, what we'll need to do is we'll have to have your bank account information, and we'll send you a ACH wire transfer for the amount on your expense report. So once it's approved, we'll send out payment in our next check run, which we do every 2 weeks. So you might get your report approved one day, and then you'll get the money about a week later. It all depends on timing. Well, I'd like to thank you for your time today, and if you have any questions or anything in the future, please contact finance@kcura.com and someone will answer your question. Thank you very much.